I kind of agree with this person, but for different reasons. Hey guys, welcome back to the DrCliffAuD vlog. This is vlog number 273, and today I want to talk to you guys about hearing aid brands because of a post I saw on social media. But before I get into this video, do me a huge favor, click that like button, really helps out the channel. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on, go ahead and do that as well. It is greatly appreciated. So, just this last week, I noticed a post that went pretty popular inside of one of the Facebook groups. Now, you guys heard me talk about a different post in last week's vlog. If you want to go check that one out, please go and do so. But today, this one is really all about hearing aid brands. Now, what I will say is that I am really not a big fan of selecting a hearing aid based on what brand it is. I am a big fan of selecting a brand that has the features and capabilities that you need based on what your wants and needs are and based off of what your hearing loss is. So let me go ahead and jump in. This is a really long one, by the way. So I do want to read all of it for you. I will have it posted here if you just want to hit pause and read it yourself. But it says that I'd like to voice what might be a controversial opinion here, and I invite your discussion. I'm an audiologist in Canada, 7 years of university education and 17 years of experience. I see many people here asking which brand of hearing aids is best and people offering advice on which brands work for them. The opinion I offer is there are many variables that contribute to how successful someone is with hearing aids, and importantly, the brand of hearing aid is the least important factor to consider. What matters more is other factors, the cause of the hearing loss, whether that's noise, age, disease, injury, etc., how long it went untreated for, longer duration equals more loss of neurons, which equals poorer speech comprehension, which equals poorer outcomes with hearing aids. How often or consistently the hearing aids are worn, all day, every day is best for neural function, age, cognitive function, so many things to consider. Modern hearing aids are essentially equivalent to each other, and a skilled audiologist or other hearing care provider can program any hearing aid to meet a patient's needs and address their concerns. Different brands have different advantages and disadvantages, i.e. some are more comfort-based, some are more audibility-based. So your care provider will steer you in the right direction, but for one person to say that X brand hearing aid is the best, or to ask which brand is best, is misguided. What works best for one patient is awful for another, and the best hearing aids in the world, if programmed incorrectly, will be unsatisfactory. And a patient with a tricky hearing loss, i.e. a steeply sloping hearing loss, who has needed aids for 20 years, will have a much different experience than a patient with a moderate loss who gets help promptly, no matter which hearing aids they try. Your thoughts? Okay, so what the hey? She's asking me for my thoughts, so I'm going to go ahead and share my thoughts. Well, first and foremost, what I would say here is I agree with the premise of this statement, which is that the brand of hearing aids doesn't matter as much as other factors. But I don't necessarily agree with all of those factors that this individual is talking about. So for instance, it really doesn't matter how long you've had hearing loss for, it doesn't matter what the cause of the hearing loss is, it doesn't matter any of those other variables that may have caused the hearing loss, or how someone would respond to treatment based on how long they have had hearing loss for. What I think is the bigger thing here is that if you have, let's say, we'll take our example of a steeply sloping high-frequency hearing loss. There are hearing aid brands that are much better at treating steeply sloping high-frequency hearing losses. So there's certain brands that I like to use inside of my clinic. There are certain brands that you guys would think that, like, gosh, Cliff just loves that brand based off of how many videos he talks about that brand in. But there are certain hearing losses, like a steeply sloping high-frequency hearing loss, that I would never recommend particular brands for that I love, okay? There are also other digital features inside of hearing aids that will make or break someone's performance with those hearing aids. But it really doesn't matter how that person got their hearing loss, right? It doesn't matter the cognitive aspect of their brain, right? If you have a hearing loss, no matter what configuration or how long you've had it for or whatever, you're still treating that hearing loss the same way. Now, if a hearing aid brand doesn't have certain features that you need, then you shouldn't go with that brand. If there is a hearing aid brand that does have what you need to effectively treat your hearing loss, then you should go with that brand. Back in 2014 is when made-for-iPhone hearing aids were coming out. Now, there are some people who are like, listen, I have no problem hearing and understanding speech on the phone, okay? And that's fine. So you could either go with a made for iPhone hearing aid with them, or you could go with any other hearing aid brand for them and likely be able to treat their hearing loss within certain parameters of what those devices are capable of. But you also had some other people who are like, my biggest issue is the phone, and I've had hearing aids for years, and I still can't hear on the phone. Well, it would be a really dumb decision not to go with a made-for-iPhone hearing aid and encourage them to get an iPhone if they don't have one already, so you can stream the audio directly from the phone into their ears to correct for the difficulty on the phone if that's a priority for them, okay? But that was rather a brand-dependent feature. So nowadays, you pretty much have every brand out there that can do Bluetooth streaming inside of someone's ears, but it doesn't change the fact that the brand does matter when it comes to getting certain features and capabilities. The thing that she talks about that I overwhelmingly agree with is that you can have the best hearing aid in the world, regardless of brand, and have that hearing aid fit by a hearing care professional who doesn't know what they're doing or who doesn't follow best practices or who's not familiar with that particular brand. You would not get as much benefit from that hearing aid as you would if you went to a hearing care professional who knows what they're doing and follows comprehensive audiologic best practices to maximize the performance of those hearing aids. And I often say that you can get an average hearing aid fit by a fantastic hearing care professional and get a really good result, and you can go and get a really awesome hearing aid, have it fit by a hearing care professional who really doesn't know what they're doing, and get a horrible result. The other thing that she talks about here is that you may love a certain brand of hearing aid and you hear really good with that hearing aid. For you to go and tell someone that they should get that particular hearing aid because you do well with it, that hearing aid might not actually meet what their needs are. So you could be providing them with really bad advice to go with a particular hearing aid brand. Now, instead, what you should do if someone asks you your opinion is you should be asking them, well, what type of hearing loss do you have? What types of things do you want your hearing aids to be able to do? And instead of telling them what brand of hearing aid that you use, tell them if the features of your hearing aids are compatible with what their wants and needs are. And at the end of the day, the best thing that you could do for them is give them the business card of your hearing care professional and say, hey, go talk to my hearing care professional because the hearing aid that I'm using that works for me may not be the best hearing aid for you. I had a perfect example of this the other day. In fact, I have two examples of this. So first and foremost, I had a patient who did really good with a new hearing aid that came out. And so he went and told all of his friends, and then I had a person with a really bad hearing loss reach out to me and say, hey, my friend told me that his hearing aid is awesome. I want to get that hearing aid from you. So he comes in for a consultation, and I'm reviewing his audiogram and all of the things that he wants to be able to do. And I'm like, yeah, that hearing aid was good for your friend, but it's not actually the right hearing aid for you. And so I ended up getting him a recommendation for a different hearing aid, fit him with that hearing aid, and guess what? He did horribly. And so what did I do? Well, I actually pivoted and went back to the brand that coincidentally his friend used, and when I treated him with that hearing aid, he did fantastic. So this was a case where the individual just did better with a particular brand of hearing aid. So brand does matter to some degree. In another case, I had an individual get a recommendation from their friend that I had been working with. He comes in wanting a particular hearing aid. And so I'm like, you know what? I just had this experience where I recommended a different brand than what this person was asking for. So you know what? I'm just going to fulfill the request for this individual so they can feel happy with the recommendation. Ended up fitting this individual with these hearing aids. These were not the best hearing aids in terms of features and capabilities for this person's hearing loss and what their wants and needs were. Ends up coming back and is like, this is horrible. Like, these hearing aids suck. And I'm like, okay, so let me go ahead and switch you into the hearing aid brand that I was going to originally recommend to you. Fit him with them. He comes back a week later. He's like, these are the most amazing hearing aids of all time, right? So as you can see, hearing aid brand sometimes matters. Oftentimes it does not matter. But what I would say is getting the right hearing aid brand for you and getting it fit by an excellent hearing care professional is the best possible combination here. Okay, so I am not this adamant against certain brands. I work with a variety of different brands inside of my clinic. The thing that drives me crazy, in fact, when I started the Hearing Up Network, I required, in order to gain entry to the network for different hearing care professionals, is that they had to offer at least 2 or more brands inside of their clinics because there is no one brand that is perfect for everybody. So in my opinion, when I have patients come into my clinic to get their Applied 360 Discover consultation, most of those individuals at the end of that consultation have no clue what brand I'm recommending to them. They just know that I made a selection of a hearing aid that was most appropriate based on what their wants and needs were and on what their hearing loss configuration was. It's actually a pet peeve of mine when I find out that hearing care professionals are just making brand recommendations to someone, even on social media, when they have no clue what that person's hearing loss is and when they have no clue what is most important to that individual. You may notice on my channel that I promote a ton of different brands, and the reason why I don't stick to one brand and just make an exclusive brand agreement with them and charge them a ton of money to get brand deals on my channel is because I want to have a relatively level playing field and talk about all the different brands of hearing aids that are out there because they all have different features and capabilities that might be important to you. So at the end of the day, I want to know what you think. Let me know down in the comment section if you think the hearing aid brand that you use is the most important thing, or if you happen to think that the hearing aid brand is just a little bit important, or if you happen to think that the hearing aid brand you use has nothing to do with getting success with your hearing treatment. I am really interested to hear what you have to think.